Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today I will be doing a completely different challenge. Today I will be beating Cult of the Lamb without using my melee weapon to attack. I'll think of a better title later. But as I just said, can't use the melee weapon to attack, except for a couple of circumstances. I had to use it for the tutorial because I know there's a quick start feature you can use, but I'm gonna be honest, I tried to use it multiple times, couldn't find it, and I mean this was supposed to be an easy run, so I kinda just went for it. And if I were to hit an enemy while I was in the game on accident, because I couldn't unbind it off my controller, I would reset the level, which happened quite a lot. And I won't be showing much of the gameplay because it's very unentertaining, because a lot of it's just me running in circles waiting for other things to do the work. So I'll mainly just be going over the bosses and like what setup I did to start the run. But first, with the setup, I had to get a follower with a certain trait, which I will show here in a second. After about an hour of farming, I finally got the trait called the Royal Pooper, which means they poop gold, so I'm able to actually obtain money without having to go into the dungeons, which helps because at the moment I didn't want to go into the dungeons because I was trying to use my weapon as little as possible, because you don't get access to curses without beating the second, or getting partway through the second level. So I would need to at least go back in for a little bit so I could get curses. As you can see, I'm on the highest difficulty right now, but that'll soon change because the beginning of this run was just painful. Like, all the setup was just painful. After about 10 more minutes, I finally cleared out the plot of land that I was going to be building on, just to get as many resources as I possibly could manage before having to go back into the dungeons. I first tried to get to the point where I'd unlock curses by just hopefully getting lucky enough and baiting out enemies on traps to kill them, but it didn't really work out because I was at 1 heart, and I also had to just get good RNG to hope that I'd get a room that has traps. Like here, I didn't get a room that has traps, so I just had to let myself die, and that just ruins my actually I don't have faith in this part of the game yet, so never mind. But it definitely was very challenging trying to get this done because I just had to keep going. And like here, I had traps. I think I maybe got 1 of them, but it's just, I wasn't able to, like, I was just too weak. After trying for about the next hour, I decided I'd just cave and let myself use my weapon just so I can get to the point where you unlock curses, which I am not at quite yet. But yeah, anyway, moving on. Unfortunately, by the first boss, I still didn't have a curse, so I had to just use my melee weapon to kill him. So that's quite unfortunate. But anyway, moving on. After entering the second level, I finally got access to curses, so for here on out, this is the only weapon I can use until I get access to demons. Although after trying for a while, I realized the curses just weren't going to be enough to clear out any level in any feasible way without just baiting everybody to traps again, so I would have to get the demon summoning circle to be able to move on. After an hour of just running in and dying repeatedly, I was finally able to get enough resources to get the demon summoning circle unlocked to build. And then here in a second I build it, or I guess I build a prison. Yeah, there we go. Then I put it down. But yeah, no, that gives me access to turn my followers into demons that can come into the levels with me. And unfortunately, the only one I had right now was just the ranged one. So I had to, so it was a little slower. I could have had a better one. Eventually I'll get a, one of the sword demons too, but at the moment that's really all I had to work with. But now I could actually, like, go through levels. But yeah, anyway, moving on. After a little while, I can finally face the second boss of the game, and now I can actually, like, follow my rule set. Fortunately, curses actually are very good in this game, so as long as I have like plenty of curses to start the fight with, it's really not that bad. I can usually at least get them down to half health before I need to just let the demon do all the work. But anyway, moving on. My mistake. The last boss that I just listed was the third boss of the game, because we are now on to the first Archbishop, which is Leechy or Leshy. Yeah, whatever, I don't care. Boss isn't too difficult. There are like random enemies that I can kill here for more feather or yeah, whatever. So I can actually have more projectiles throughout the fight. But I mean, it's a pretty easy fight, not a whole lot happens. But I mean, it's kind of hard to dodge some of those, like those large spikes. I have to kind of just spam roll, but I mean, this whole game is not very challenging if you just spam roll, to be honest. So I'll let the rest of the fight play out, but moving on. First boss in World 2 isn't that difficult. It's kind of a pain that he summons more enemies, but that's also just kind of helpful for me. Because while that just adds more to the fight, it allows me to get more curses throughout the fight. So it definitely isn't too bad when they're there. But once again, I didn't really come into the fight with too many curses to use. So fight's a little slow, but he has like 3 moves total. He just has a jump attack, a fire attack, and a spawn enemies attack. Nothing too crazy. Honestly, I might redo this challenge, but like on a higher difficulty or permadeath, because I did unlock permadeath by beating the game this time around. So if you want me to like do a sequel to this, let me know. But yeah, I mean, there really isn't a whole lot to say about these fights. They're just kind of there. Mainly just the bishop fights are the ones to worry about, except for like a select few. But anyway, moving on. The next boss wasn't too challenging. I allowed myself to swat away the flies though, so my demon could get a straight shot on the boss, but it didn't really matter much because I dropped him pretty fast. In this run, I also allowed myself to reflect projectiles, which I used on one boss, which is mainly the reason I'm mentioning it now, is because I'm also like making a rule for a certain boss almost, just to make it easier. But it definitely helped, allowing myself to clear out some of the flies so my demon could actually shoot at the boss. But I mean, past that, this boss wasn't too bad. I died on them a couple of times, but it was only like twice. It was not too challenging. But that's really about it. Moving on. When I first saw some of the attacks that this boss does, I kind of got scared for a minute, because I just saw like a bunch of big explosive projectiles. But yeah, no, he was fairly weak and pretty easy to avoid. So honestly, it really wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse for sure. Like, he definitely looks daunting, but I think if like his attack patterns are pretty easy to dodge, if you kind of just roll every time he jumps, then like honestly, yeah, just spam roll this whole time. Like if you're always moving, he'll never hit you, because he won't be able to stomp on you, and he'll just miss with his projectiles unless you roll into them. Because some of them have like predetermined destinations, but some of them are just like aimed at you. So it kind of just depends on the attack. But anyway, moving on. This fight was like 5 minutes long at 4 times speed, so I decided I would liberate you from that and just put it at 8 times speed, so you really can't see what's going on. But this boss was kind of challenging because there was a ton of enemies on the field. They would release the flies that would just block the shots of my demon, and then they also just had large AoE attacks. It was quite challenging, but luckily this time around, for my curses, I had the like tentacle one that shot in 4 directions, so I was able to like set it up properly where I could like hit some of the frogs and the boss at the same time, which was really helpful. And yeah, this section, as you can see, I'm literally just running around in circles like a maniac, hoping that my demon will shoot the right things and kill them. So this is why the fight took so long. Like, mainly just this part of fighting the 2 mini-bosses took forever. But eventually, after running around in circles long enough, I even used a curse to try to speed it up. Like it was actually that bad that I started popping. Like, I was trying to save him for the boss, but it was like I was there for so long, I was just ready to be done with that part. And then I'm at 1 HP, so I'm at half a HP, so I'm literally just running in circles praying I don't get hit. And I'm absolutely locked in here. Like, the concentration here was insane, because like this boss, I was really not trying to do that again, because this was taking me forever to beat, because this is 8 times speed and this is still like a 2-minute boss, so you can just kind of gauge on how long that was. But anyway, moving on. I decided it was about time to upgrade my demon summoning circle, but at the moment, unfortunately, I didn't have a sword demon. So I just had to use a bomb demon, which basically just explodes immediately. It's pretty useless, but it was the only other like combative one I had. The first boss of World 3 wasn't too bad. Once again, has minions, but what doesn't at this point? Yeah, he went down pretty fast. Anyway, moving on. Second boss of World 3 wasn't too difficult either. I think this might have been the one that I allowed the like reflection though with my weapon. Because, yeah, like, the little bomb guys, like, those, like, the red things with, like, yellow bumps, like, those are, just, like, I don't think those have health bars. I think they just are, like, supposed to be, like, hit and reflected. Because, like, when I hit them, they don't take damage. They just fly backwards. So, it's fine. Anyway, moving on. Third boss of World 3 wasn't crazy either. Right here, I'm using relics. That's how I'm, like, so large. I didn't really talk about them much because I was only able to really use them when, like when I found them, because I couldn't charge them back up because I couldn't do melee damage, except for one weapon later that I'll show you. That's really fun. I didn't know that it was in the game beforehand, but yeah, anyway, moving on. I'll be straight up with you, this fight was so long that if I put it to like a solid speed where you could watch the whole fight, it would be too much, so I just like showed the beginning and end. Like, it was actually, like, awful how long this took me. Like, and I also had to run back to this guy, like, 6 times. Like, this was probably the worst boss of the run. I'm gonna be real. Because, like, look at how much he's just throwing at me. Like, how am I supposed to deal with that normally? Like, that's just awful. But anyway, moving on. As you might have known, but I didn't, Cult of the Lamb has a gun. And so, because this is technically a ranged only, kind of, I allowed myself to have the gun. Because I said no melee weapons only, so it counts, I don't care. Unfortunately for this boss, I remembered to bring my strap, and so everything he threw at me went down pretty quickly, and I was also like full health, so I like dropped him pretty easily. But anyway, moving on. 3 times in a row I got lucky and got a strap, and so once again boss went down easy, especially because the curse I had froze him in place for a little bit, so it was just even easier. But anyway, moving on. This was probably the second worst boss of the run, to be honest. Like, this guy was kind of awful too. Like, he had the exact same problems as the third bishop, but I think they were a lot less evident. Like, I feel like there was a lot less projectile spam, a lot less just more enemies. So I cut it again because it was like another like 12-minute fight. It was something crazy. But anyway, moving on. If anybody has watched this far, thank you so much for watching this far. And this is basically the end of the game. All I need to do is just kill all of these fellas. But I mean, this fight was actually quite easy, shockingly. I think it's just because they didn't spam as many projectiles. It was more just melee attacks, which I was able to dodge quite well. But I mean, yeah, these people, this was definitely a fun fight. It was my favorite fight by far, this one. But if you ever want me to do a challenge on this game again, I would definitely do one. Just give me some suggestions, because I couldn't really think of a whole lot, but I've just been meaning to play this game. Like, this was mainly just an excuse to actually get around to beating the game, because it's hard for me to actually, like, start a game unless, like, I have a plan on something to do with it. So, I mean, yeah, this definitely was my favorite fight of the game, because it just felt, I don't know, I also just liked the 4 phases of the fight, and I mean, I actually, like, cooked them, too, because I think in between phases I got refills on curses. I at least know in between the phase I was just in the phase just now. And for a second, I didn't even know the eyeballs was what I was aiming for. I tried to aim for him for a second, realized it was the eyeballs, and then just kind of dodged it around. Like, yeah, I mean, this fight's really not that hard. Like, the eyeballs went down pretty quickly, and I was able to drop him fairly quickly. But yeah, no, that's the end of the run. But I really hope you guys enjoyed watching, and if you don't mind liking and subscribing, and I'll probably be playing Dark Souls 3 next. I just can't bring myself to do Dark Souls 2. I don't know. Or maybe Dark Souls 1. I don't really know. You'll see. Or I might do something different. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.